Hello, today on Escape Room Daily, we're joined by Sara Hicks, a marketing director, content ninja, and people leader based in San Antonio. Sara is a co-owner of Get Out of My Escape Room, where she's imagined, designed, and built multiple rooms while steering everything from vendor ops to guest experience. She also rolled up her sleeves on growth building Google ad campaigns, posting weekly social content, and collaborating with local influencers to get players through the door. Before opening her venue, Sara led marketing efforts, realigning brands and scaling locations, all while directing an internal team and coordinating with outside partners. At her core, Sara is a data-driven brand builder with a wide range of experiences who aligns identity, storytelling, and execution to drive real results. Today, we'll unpack her origin story, how she markets and operates a modern escape room, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Thanks for joining me, Sara.
You bet.
So let's get started at the beginning. You weren't always an escape room owner. In fact, you began in a totally different field. So what was your first exposure to immersive experiences or escape rooms? Do you remember the first escape room you ever played and how it made you feel?
I do. Yes, my husband and I played our first escape room in Orlando when we were on our baby mini trip before my first daughter was born. And we were, after hitting the parks, just tired of walking all day and trying to figure out something we could do for fun that was closer to the hotel. And we'd never done an escape room before, so we went over to, and I do not remember the name of the game. I think it was Escape America or something along those lines. Um, but yes, we did a ancient Egyptian themed escape room. It was not a private experience. There were other people in our room who were more experienced than us. Obviously, it was our first time. But it was kind of fun working with the different personalities, with the exception of one guy who kind of tried to direct everybody.
Nice. So I hear a lot of that kind of thing where those public rooms are a little bit, can be chaotic because you don't know the other personalities in the room. How was that? I mean, did you guys escape?
We did. We did,
You
yes.
did? Nice.
Yeah.
And so that feeling of getting out of the room, was that what really was like, oh, we got to do this again?
It was. I mean, I liked getting out. I liked the anticipation and the kind of feel of triumph of getting out, but it was also really interesting to look at how they built the room. My husband is an engineer, and so he especially was looking at specifically how they'd done some of the more technical things in the room and thinking about how he might do them as well. So like, fog machine and triggering the sarcophagus lid and that kind of thing. Started talking about that, and eventually started delving deeper into the escape room experience. Personally, I mean, I don't have a problem getting along with a lot of different personalities, so having strangers in the room didn't bother me as much as my husband, who's more of an introvert. But I will say now that we've done more rooms and significantly more that are private experiences, I very much prefer the private experience because you can set your own pace a little bit more. You can understand how people are communicating a little bit more. And as you know, communication is such a big part of the escape room experience.
Absolutely. So it sounds like, based on my experience, your origin story of Get Out of My Escape Room started with daycare friendships. Is that right? And kind of a love for escape rooms. So how did you go from, meeting some friends, maybe talking about escape rooms and being like, hey, we should actually do something about this?
Yep. Well, after that first experience, my husband and I started looking for other escape rooms to do closer to home in San Antonio. And we went through and did most of the rooms here in town. Um, by then our daughter was about 2 and had started in daycare. And she had another little girl in her class who she became really good friends with even before the two of them could talk. The daycare teachers would tell us that they would hold hands through the bars of their cribs and just kind of mumble and babble at each other. So eventually we met the parents of that little girl, and it turned out that they were also escape room enthusiasts who had done a whole bunch of escape rooms as kind of date night experiences, which is what my husband and I had been doing as well. Um, and then as the girls became better friends, whose parents became better friends because they were getting together for various play dates. And then we started all doing the escape rooms together as kind of friend outings, I guess. And every time we would talk about, oh, I would do this differently, or I didn't love how this happened. If we ever do our own, we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen.
Okay, those are
Oh,
little teasers you guys drop there to each other. If we ever did our own, I like it.
yes. We finally bit the bullet and decided we were going to form an LLC and actually open an escape room in 2020 when we were stuck at home and out of our minds from all the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
So we used that as time to think it through and plan it out, and we ended up opening in mid 2022.
So that's definitely one of the things I wanted to cover. Starting an escape room business in the middle of COVID is certainly challenging, I'm sure. It's great to get out of the house, being with a vetted group of friends, things like that. But how did the pandemic influence the way you went about it? Was there any challenges, or were there, a lot of Zoom calls? Like what did you guys do to really start brainstorming this?
Well, we really didn't open while we were still in the middle of the pandemic. Again, we didn't open until mid 2022. But in terms of the planning stage, our families were kind of in each other's COVID bubble. So
Mm-hmm.
we saw each other a lot, even with social distancing in place, um, and planned things out. However, I would say that the pandemic gave us more thoughts about disinfecting protocols, whether or not to have private or public rooms, and just what would make people more comfortable coming into an escape room type environment, or a smaller space where they might be with more people, following all of the events of the pandemic.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you decided that this hobby of yours was going to become a business, were you having to convince family and friends like, hey, I'm leaving this job that I have, or did you kind of do both at the same time? How did that kind of work out?
No, I did not. I did not leave my job. All 4 of our owners were still working full-time jobs when we opened. We had a marketing person, a engineer, a professional photographer, and a urgent care nurse practitioner. So very,
Okay.
very different skill sets and background experiences. But yeah,
Okay.
we all kept our day jobs.
Okay. And were there other people that you sort of had to convince or talk to about like, hey, we're gonna do this new venture? Was it just the 4 of you who were just like, we're doing it, it doesn't matter? Who else was involved in that decision-making process?
I would say some of my partners kind of had to convince me because I tend to be more risk averse than they are. I tend to always look at the the money and the risk, and they tend to be more um, positive thinkers and thinking that it's all gonna work out. Um, so I would say we went back and forth on that a lot. Um, but when it comes down to it, it's a passion project. It's something we were all really passionate about. I thought we had good ideas for unique escape room themes that we hadn't really seen elsewhere. And having played a lot of escape rooms, I think I've done probably close to 100 at this point. Um, there were some things that seemed to be missing from the industry that we thought we could help with, particularly as parents of younger kids. Um, we noticed kind of a dearth in family-friendly escape room experiences. So many of them are based around horror and scary themes. Killer clowns, serial killers, zombies, all that. It's not something you can take a 6-year-old to. However, all of our kids were now old enough where they would ask us what we were doing when we go to the escape rooms, and they wanted to go too. And we really struggled finding ones that we could actually take them to. But when we did, we found that they were great participants. They might not be able to do everything that we were doing, but they saw things in a way that adults didn't. Kids tend not to overcomplicate and overthink things, and adults are absolutely the opposite. So they just see things and go, well, maybe this connects to this. While you're trying to figure out the quadratic formula in your head, they cracked it. And if you're lucky, you're actually paying attention when they say that. Uh, yeah, so we wanted to base our rooms around humor. We tend to be a very sarcastic group, and off the wall kind of conversations. In fact, a lot of our escape room planning happens playing a VR-based Dungeons and Dragons type game called Demio at night. So we would be on Oculus headsets talking through the points of opening the escape room, taking notes at the same time that we're, casting fireball on a group of goblins.
That's awesome. I feel like the pandemic was a really creative time. Like people actually had to come up with very unique ways to get together and do things that were, not just the four walls around you, sort of breaking out of that experience, which I guess is a great metaphor for escape rooms in general. So when you were transitioning from your career into really opening this escape room, it was a gradual transition. You were still, you were also working at your full-time jobs and sort of doing this on the side. You mentioned your husband's an engineer. So is he primarily the builder of a lot of the different puzzles, things like that?
Yes. Yeah. When it comes to design, wiring, and planning out anything technical, he's our main go-to guy, as well as computer systems and cameras, as well as troubleshooting anything that might go wrong. He's that guy.
So he has some crossover from his career to this. I imagine that there's some transferable skills from your career in healthcare and marketing on that side of thing that would also apply to escape rooms. Can you kind of talk about how that, the expertise in the marketing industry really helped you guys to, start off in this escape room?
Sure. Well, I was involved pretty heavily in building out our website. I don't do direct web coding, but we worked with a company to help us on that. And basically myself and one other of our partners did all of the copywriting and wanted to make sure that our kind of our brand voice was heard throughout the site. If you visit our FAQ page, you can definitely see some of that shining through. Like I said, we are dorky and sarcastic, and you will see that throughout the site as well as throughout our escape rooms. I would say another area, of course, where marketing background helped was with building out social media and Google Ads um, campaigns. We currently have a couple of Google Ads campaigns running pretty much all the time um, to help us increase awareness of our brand as well as any special offers we might have. I would say my background in vendor management also helped dealing with some of our escape room vendors as well as, well, escape room specific vendors like Bookio and Buzzshot, but also with some of our small business vendors like our payroll provider and that type of thing. There's a lot that has to be kept track of to make sure that you're making the right payments at the right time and keeping everything organized.
You talked about brand messaging and brand voice maybe is related to that. So like you talked a little bit about having more kid-friendly rooms. And that makes sense to have that come across in your website. When people walk in the door to your escape room, is that like really a vibe that comes through as soon as they walk in the door? Is it contained mostly in the rooms? How do you take that brand messaging from your website and push it all the way through the experience?
I would say our lobby is, yes, definitely representative of our brand. It is eclectic because, to be totally honest, we didn't have the budget at the first to do it in a fancy all matching vibe. So we do have some eclectic furniture pieces put in there. But one wall of our lobby is filled with escape room awards that we invented and gave ourselves.
Awesome. I love that.
So we have some trophies and plaques on our website. We have that were voted the #1 escape room by the owner's mom.
That's great. I think it really plays up the fun level of your game. I mean, you are addressing a younger market, which is great. I'm sure it applies to older markets as well, but just being a little silly and not taking yourself overly serious can definitely set a tone before you step in the door. You talked about Google Ads, so like, can you talk about the either the way you run that, maybe the messaging that's in those things? Is it still permeating that silliness and pulling those people in? And how are you targeting, a younger crowd, given that there are laws and regulations around younger kids on the internet, things like that?
Right.
Has that posed a problem for you, or are you able to reach that market through maybe parent groups or things like that?
Yeah, our advertising is geared more towards parent groups. We do see a lot of children's birthday parties and things of that nature. Yeah, we're not really trying to target and advertise directly to kids.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Although I will say we do, we donate room experiences to like silent auctions and things like that, but the schools and PTAs near us hold. And that is one way to get the word out to some of our nearby child markets, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you, I guess on social media, what types of social media are you running? Are you, I don't hear a lot of escape rooms putting out too much social media because they're afraid of giving away spoilers and things like that.
Yeah.
Is it, you mentioned one of your partners is a professional photographer, so that I'm sure helps with some of those assets. Are you doing video? Are you doing like what are the platforms that you're on currently?
Well, we're currently on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, although we don't do a ton on TikTok. We have one employee who kind of manages that account with us, our senior game master. So primarily Facebook and Instagram for regular posts. And then we do have a YouTube channel, but it's not um, super utilized. It's more just for creating video content and parking it there so that we can use it in Google Ads.
I've heard from other escape room owners that, really only about 5% of the people who come through the door are like enthusiasts, really people who are doing escape rooms probably as much as really trying to find every experience. So you're constantly having to find new customers, that customer acquisition, bringing people in the door is a big challenge. Um, I guess are those the tactics you're advertising, social media posts, giveaways for those things? Are there other things that you're using marketing wise to bring people in the door?
Well, those are the primary ones. Obviously, word of mouth. We do use Buzzshot, as I mentioned, as our kind of CRM tool to message our existing customers. So we will let them know about special offers, think along those lines. Um, oh, what else? I have
Are there local
just
influencers? I feel like I saw that you guys have
yes,
worked with some
yes,
influencers locally.
yes, I forgot about that. Yes, we did do some campaigns with some micro influencers in the San Antonio market, inviting them to come out for gifted collaborations, even birthday parties, and share their experience online. So that has definitely helped to raise awareness of our company within the local market.
Yeah, that I think that I've heard that becoming more and more of a driver for people who already have a following to be brought in and kind of share with their market.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Okay, so
We also did
you,
a
you
we did a television segment with a local lifestyle show this past month. July, still this past month? Yes. Um, yes, this past month, where the correspondents came in and did kind of a run through all of our escape rooms and shot video of it to share on their lifestyle show, which was a nice feature and a fun way to show some video of the room without giving out any spoilers.
that's awesome. So you talked about, your focus really being on, I guess not focus, but being more humorous and more, friendly to kids and families and stuff like that. Do you test any of your like ideas for puzzles with your kids before, getting them into your room? Do you like have puzzles at home? Do you guys play games? You talked about D&D. So do you guys play like board games and things with the kids? Like what does home life look like with your kids with the escape room?
Oh, absolutely. We test them with the kids. We test them with our kids. We test them with other people's kids. We specifically bring in families with children as beta testers when we open a new room. Um, but yes, our girls are big into puzzles, and board games. My little one is 6, loves jigsaw puzzles, putting things together. So whenever we come across a jigsaw puzzle in an escape room, that's kind of, she calls fibs. Uh, um, and actually, I've been playing with my older daughter the Clue Mystery Escape board games. Um,
Nice.
we've had a lot of fun with those. It's just a card game where you have to solve puzzles that you find along the way. Unfortunately, they are a one-time play thing, but we've
Mm,
had fun doing all those together.
yeah. So we talked about like the marketing things that you've done to get people in the door. So let's maybe talk about, what happens once they get there, what nuts and bolts of running the place kind of is. So do would you say there's been big challenges in like launching your escape room? Like again, we talked about the COVID time. Were there any, I guess, challenges? You launched a little bit later, but were there challenges when opening the escape room first off with getting
I,
people in the door?
I mean, I would say there's multiple challenges. Whenever you're opening any small business, there's going to be multiple challenges. One of the big ones that was that we were all still working full-time jobs, so that slowed down how quickly we could get the place open. And in the meantime, we were paying on a construction loan that we had to get to build out the space that we're in. Like a lot of people, we opened with one room open so that we could continue building the second one and hopefully make a little bit of money along the way and get people to start noticing that we were open and there. It took a little bit to see people coming in, but once they did, the word was spreading, and we did get a lot of enthusiasts. We got a lot of owners from other escape rooms coming by to check us out and test us out. This was exciting. I think one of the challenges with opening with one room is people get excited and they want to do another one, and you don't have one to offer them yet. And we couldn't have a concrete date for when that next room was going to open yet. So that was a challenge. We were still getting some of our systems set up. But building out the rooms, we now have 4 open, 3.5 technically rooms. So 3 are full length 60-minute rooms, and 1 is a mini room, which is our 30-minute room. Which was our solution of what to do with a smaller room that wasn't really useful to us.
Yeah,
In
gotta
the
make it work.
building. Exactly. Staffing and hiring people obviously was tricky. We ended up hiring our first employee after he and his family came in to play a room. And they were big time escape room enthusiasts, had done a ton of games together. And this young man he was in high school, and he had, for a special occasion, turned his house into an escape room for his family to play. And so we say, well, how do you like working at In-N-Out Burger where you are right now? And we'd like to make a change.
Yes.
And so we actually hired him that day while they were there, and brought him in as our first game master. But since then, we've actually had really good luck working through one of our local universities for game master candidates, specifically through the theatrical department. I think actually all of our game masters right now are from this university, and they were all referrals from our other game masters, which is excellent. I would say that the game masters themselves are one of the big things that we pride ourselves on, because of course they're the face of the organization. They're the ones that make sure that the customers have a great experience. And they're ultimately the ones that cement that feeling that people have when they're leaving, whether they win or lose, of whether they want to come back and experience this again. And I would say our game masters, by and large, are just fantastic. We do have a rule with Get Out of My Escape Room that our game masters are not allowed to run more than one room simultaneously. We think that takes away from the experience, and we've all had experiences where GMs were running multiple rooms, not paying attention to what we were doing, and then when we did need help in the last, minutes of the room, we had to waste some of that time updating them on where we were. which is not an experience we want our guests to have.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I love that um, the people you have working for you are referrals from other people that are working for you. It
So
sort of expands that family feeling. You obviously are running this on a family, and them working with people that they like and trust and bring in, really, really just builds that out further. I think that's a really nice foundation that you have there. It sounds like you wear a lot of different hats. You design puzzles, you manage people, you promote and market your business. How did you kind of learn the creative side of designing escape rooms? Did you kind of take like inspiration from puzzles that you had done, or what other spaces do you look for inspiration?
I would say the puzzle design and mapping out of the room is very much a team effort. We start with obviously the general story of the room and where we want it to start and where we want it to end. Um, and honestly, we spend a lot of time just brainstorming funny things that could happen along the way and things that we could include. And then we figure out the journey from start to finish, how they're going to get there. Um, I will say that beta testing our rooms has been extremely educational because there are things that you design yourself and think, oh, this makes sense. People are going to figure this out in no time. And it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to the bulk of people coming in. Or it takes them way longer to solve than you would think that it would. So we have had to work in both ways. We've had to add puzzles and difficulty to games where they went too fast. And we've had to strip things back and simplify when we've overcomplicated it. So I always enjoy the beta testing process because people are just excited to help and try things out and then also give their feedback, which is so incredibly valuable before we officially open to the public.
You mentioned earlier a lot of the initial ideation around this escape room business was being played over Dungeons and Dragons, the game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Do you lean on that like world building and story building through that experience that you all share? Is that kind of, you talked about it's a group effort. Is that sort of like, what can we build? What's the world? What are the things that can kind of tie into that? Is that how that goes?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just to clarify, it's not officially Dungeons and Dragons. It's called Vimeo. I think they pronounce it Vimeo.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, it's a version on the Oculus Quest where you are a cooperative group going through a dungeon and battling monsters.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. um, so on the operations side, were there any things that were harder than you expected for running an escape room on a day-to-day basis? Like, resetting the rooms or training people or handling challenges with customers or anything like that just had a steep learning curve?
Um, hmm. I mean, I would say managing employee turnover is one. Um, I will say we don't have a ton of turnover, but since we have primarily college students hired on, we do see some turnover as they, graduate, move on, take full-time jobs, that kind of thing. We did have one employee that we had to let go, which was um, very difficult and not something we expected to have to do. Um, but that was definitely a challenge that all four of us kind of collaborated on and figured out how to move forward with that situation. Um, Out of the four of us, I think only one of us had professional experience with that. So So we've all worked as managers. Actually letting someone go is something you hope to never have to do.
Yeah,
Uh, but occasionally it does work out that way. So that was
sure.
a challenge for sure. Um, and then, yeah, I would say the training process is is challenging. We're still kind of cementing exactly how that training process works. But we do now have a game master who serves as our training manager, and tracks our new employees as they move along and master different skills that they need.
So I imagine part of that process of training is having them play the games so that they know all the different puzzles in there and kind of what goes together. Um,
Yeah, we have
is
them
that some?
present and play.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question is how they come in and how they play with different people. Um,
Actually, when we interview for our game masters, we take them in groups of 3 or 4 and put them into our 30-minute room and watch them. Uh,
mm,
that is that's the initial part of our interview. Um, and you'd be surprised at how much it tells you about the types of personalities you are working with. Who is going to be
sure.
vocal, who's going to take the lead, who's looking at things with humor, and who is getting frazzled easily. Um, we had one candidate who is now one of our GMs who another player during the interview game had accidentally broken a prop, and he fixed it mid-game and reinstalled it on the wall. We're like, we're hiring him.
Nice. I was going to say a lot of corporations use kind of core values and culture tests to like define if a person is a good culture fit for your business. And I imagine that this is exactly what that is for you. You can see how people are going to deal with challenges or, how they kind of think by just watching them play, but I think is a really cool thing.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so you've built and opened multiple rooms in your location. You said you have 4 now or 3.5. Do you have plans to grow that more or maybe have a second location or anything like that?
No plans for a second location, but we do plan to open one more full-size room and one more mini room in the space that we're in now.
Okay. That sounds good. And are there things that you can lean on from the growth and scaling of your previous careers that you really apply to these kind of situations? Your challenges that you're going to come up with when you're trying to grow.
Um, I mean, managing costs for build out is a huge part of it, of course. You don't want to be so far in the hole when you open a room that you can't claw your way out. Um, I am a thrifter for sure. I have a tendency to source things from thrift stores, Facebook Marketplace. If I can get away with not buying full price, I absolutely will. Um, so that is definitely a part of it. Keeping costs
Yeah.
down.
And I imagine with thrifting too, that helps with some of your more nostalgic type of rooms.
Oh,
If you're able to find things that are more vintage that feel time period appropriate in those cases, right?
absolutely. It does become a problem when you need to have replacement props. Um,
Mm,
because you're not going to find something exactly like it. Just to give you an example, um, we have a gift card case in our Rock the 90s room right now. And we originally got it from a pawn shop. And they had it in the back because it was so beat up that they didn't want to sell it. And that was exactly what we were looking for because this is supposed to be a teenage boy's bedroom in the 90s. We wanted it beat up, but still able to seal tightly. And so now it's been in play for quite some time. We're like, well, we should probably get a backup for this. And so far, we haven't found one. So we actually put a call out on social media in case people had one that was all beat up that they wanted to donate in exchange for a free escape room. Um, so we'll see. The search continues.
Yeah.
I could buy
All
a
right,
new one.
we'll
That
put out
much.
the word.
I don't want a new one.
Yeah, I've heard that beyond thrifting, many escape room owners that I've talked to talk about going to garage sales, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That is just like, you know, whatever you can find that's maybe an estate sale or a garage sale or like you said, thrifting's a great one too. Antique stores are
surprisingly a good place to find things like doorknobs, hardware, things like that that you might need in a build out. My husband's had a lot of good luck finding things of that nature, and he always heads straight to the garage when we go to a estate sale.
I was gonna say, do you so given that you have the rooms open, you have ideas already in play, are like, do you, if you see something you're like, I don't have a need for this today, but I can definitely see how this would be used in a puzzle, do you like, you know, have a storage unit of things that you're like, okay, we're just gonna keep these on hand just in case?
We do, yes.
Yeah.
That is kind of a number one rule of thrifting. You're not looking for one specific thing. You're looking for the good deals on the things that you might be able to use.
Okay, good.
So yes, we do. We have a storage/workroom at our escape room right now where we have collected a little pile of things that may be used for future rooms. We also do in Texas they do bulk pickup days for trash pickup.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I were driving around looking at everything, and we found this giant plexiglass dome. And we're like, if we do something with space,
There you go. Yeah.
you know, we're going to take that. So
Yeah.
you just never know. You never know what's going to be useful.
So you've obviously learned a lot on this journey from marketing, operations, you know, things like that. One thing I like to do on Escape Room Daily is get insights that you know people may not hear every day. You've obviously shared a lot from your corporate side and the independent owner side, but do you have any like tactical things that you can share, kind of like maybe just like something specific that you do that's really working for you, or something you tried that really didn't work at all?
Well, didn't work at all. I can tell you for sure. Yelp advertising, god awful, just horrible, and they will not stop calling us. Their salespeople are so over the top and will just come at you and come at you and come at you. And even though, you know, you've got to have a Yelp profile, you want as many public profiles as you can for search. They've restricted their profiles so much that like you have to pay extra to have your logo on your profile. You have to pay extra to list, you know, unique attributes of your business, that type of thing. There's only certain things that you can actually fill in with a free profile. So they really try to push you and say, you know, your profile will do better if you have all of this stuff, but you can do it for, you know, just a little bit of money. And so we tried advertising with them, fully optimizing the profile with everything that they would give you, and as well as running the ads. And we were just charged out the nose for all these leads that they said were coming our way that we were not seeing actually turn into bookings. And now that we've cut off that payment stream, and gone back to the free profile, we're still getting Yelp business leads coming to our inbox, but we reply to them, but no one ever replies back. It's kind of a running joke that it's just throwing things into the Yelp void because we've probably got 50 some odd, team building requests on Yelp that people have supposedly actual people have reached out to us and never got back to us at all. And of course, they won't give us their contact information. We have to just message them through Yelp. So it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Would not recommend that to anybody.
Yeah. You've done Google Ads, which, is another advertising platform. And I think you mentioned Meta as well, Meta Ads.
Mm-hmm.
What, are there like specific tactics that you use in terms of that to really, see a return on that? I think from what I understand about it, you want to put $1 in and get $2 out at least. Like that's kind of the plan. So how do you sort of manage budgets or target, the local industry, or like, are there any tactical things that you can share with the audience that, might help them do better at their ads?
Well, I will say we're not running Meta ads right now. Just Google, but I do meet with our Google ad representative, which is a free service, to review our campaign's performance and hear their suggestions for how to improve things. This admittedly can be hit or miss because your assigned Google ad rep may or may not be exactly what you're hoping for. Our guy right now is great, I will say. We've gotten a lot of luck lately with promotions and running specials just because of the state of the economy and how price sensitive consumers are at this point. We run a lot of discounts and then make an effort to make sure that they are visible across all of our platforms, whether that's our website, social media, our Google business profile. Morty, I talk with Morty a lot to try to promote all of the special offers that we have. So the bottom line is, even if a lot of that luxury income is diminishing, people still want entertainment. They're just more price sensitive about what they're willing to pay for it. So if we can get them in the door, then a lot of times that's the biggest part of the battle. We also offer rebooking specials when people are in our facility. When they come in for a game, they have the option to book another game that day for an additional discount, or book another game for another day at a different level of discount. We've had people come in and play through all 4 games in the same day just because they're still on that escape room high and they want to keep going.
You mentioned Morty. It's a site that I hear about a lot. Mm-hmm. So with you, and I believe I heard you mention Bookio as your booking software, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So does Morty, I think Morty offers like a book on their site functionality. Does that work with Bookio that you have?
Yes. Yeah, we have it.
It does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. So you're able to get your availability shown on Morty for increased exposure, and run some different, it sounds like, promotions over there as well.
Yes, we can run promotions specific to Morty, and then also push out the promotions that we have just going in general for our estate room at the time. We do have a direct integration with Bookio over there, and we are also business partners with Morty. So they actually allow direct booking for our site through the Morty site and app.
Okay, nice. This has been great. Before we finish, I'd like to like zoom out a little bit and get your take on sort of the escape room industry as a whole and maybe where it's headed in the future. Do you see any trends, or have you noticed any lately in your local market or in other games that you've played maybe like new kinds of puzzles, other tech things, or different themes? You're focused on sort of a younger market. So, obviously you said that horror themes are more prevalent in your area. Is there anything that you're seeing that you can share with us?
I would say in terms of trends, especially with some of the larger chains, we are now starting to see more um, family friendly and accessible type games coming in. Um, Not necessarily humorous, but more just dialing back the fear factor, which keeps a lot of people from playing. And not even really just kids. There's a lot of adults I know who won't do the horror themed ones.
Yep,
Uh,
that's my family.
yeah. So we are seeing that more. I mean, seeing the chains come in, they're incorporating things like, serving liquor on site and really trying to pack as many games as possible into a space. So, from a profitability standpoint, I can see that happening. Um, and
Are
pretty
you
much,
seeing more? Are you
yeah.
seeing the? Sorry, I was just going to say, are you seeing that as more people have more family friendly kind of rooms, that your business is being positively affected by that? Because maybe they find another room and then they see like your rooms after that, or how are you as far as your local community like impacted by other escape rooms in the area?
So I generally think that escape rooms should be friends more so than competitors. Ultimately, most people will only play a game once, and hopefully, it leaves them with that escape room high where they want to do another room. And once they've gone through all the rooms in one facility, then they're going to start looking for other ones in their area. The idea is to hook them. So from that standpoint, we recommend other escape rooms in our area frequently um, to people, and we hope they recommend us as well. Um, but I will say, where you were talking about how a lot of players are first-time players, it does make it harder to be a small business with a limited budget in an area where some of the larger chains are coming in and competing with you directly um, in the digital advertising market.
So you yeah, I mean, I think I keep going back to this because I'm imagining it, but when you guys were starting your business on your VR headsets, things like that, um, and having these conversations, do you feel like sometime in the next maybe 5 or 10 years, we're going to start seeing more virtual, even like room sized VR type of things that are more, they're still escape rooms, but they're more immersive environments because of the technology that can be built around those things? Do you see that as being a thing, or do you think, you know, it's not really being out in the world and doing things with your hands, which is part of the fun of escape rooms?
I mean, there are a few VR games, not VR gaming centers for escape rooms, but VR games where you can, download them and play kind of a
Yeah.
detective type story. Um, I could see that happening from an expense control standpoint. However, I don't think it's really going to give the same experience. To me, an escape room it's in person and it has to be with other people. It can be other people you know. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for private rooms. I really prefer them, but I just don't, I have a hard time picturing a group of people playing an escape room on separate headsets and having the same level of fun and interaction that they would
Yeah.
in a real room.
Yeah, that makes sense. So as an escape room owner, how do you plan to stay ahead of these trends, the like whatever's coming out next? How do you see growing your business into the future?
Well, one area that we're looking to expand is with corporate bookings, looking at advertising more for corporate team building. We've recently set up a LinkedIn page for our business to start reaching out to HR managers and things of that nature, more so than just, your average player dev. So I think that's one thing that we're working on. We're also following the plan to go after micro influencers in different areas. As of now, we've really just worked with more mom influencers, and I think there's definitely room for us to expand that to puzzle lovers and adventure lovers, not necessarily with kids in tow.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this has been really insightful for me. I think we've deep dived into a bunch of different things, but I'd love to just kind of recap a couple of the insights that you gave, and then give you a chance to share how people can find you, visit your escape room, and all that kind of stuff. So I think what I heard from you in a lot of ways is continual marketing. The Google ads that you're running are sort of happening all the time, just to keep your brand presence out there and available. You guys work as a team. You're bringing in people who are vetted by your other employees. That way you have a bigger trust factor going in when you're actually hiring someone, and kind of finding the niche that you're in to really both differentiate but be welcoming to a younger market. Like those kind of big three things for me were really, really insightful and helpful to kind of see how you guys stand out amongst the crowd. So just before I wrap up, I just had one last thing. So like when you, because you've been creating escape rooms now, and you kind of mentioned your husband did this before, but when you play an escape room now, do you find yourself able to relax and enjoy the room, or are you like, this is going to do that? I know what these puzzles are already doing before. Like, do you ruin your own experience now that you know the sort of insider secrets?
I would say no. No. We're still definitely enjoying playing escape rooms, and the fun thing about escape rooms is depending on who has built them, there's usually something new. Hopefully there's something that we haven't seen in every single one. And maybe it's something that we love and we're like, well, we should put that in a room for our place. Or it's something that we hate and we're like, let's never do that. That did not work at all. Um, you know, one of our mantras is darkness is not a puzzle.
Yeah.
Our owners are all basically in our 40s, and we hate getting into a room where you're having to squint to read something and you need to read it for the the thing. I don't want to have to get my phone flashlight out to read stuff in an escape room. It drives me crazy.
Absolutely. Yes.
Um,
Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking us kind of behind the scenes and letting us into your journey. It was really a lot of fun to kind of hear your story and welcome us into your family. Before we go, where can our audience find you and learn more about Get Out of My Escape Room?
well, our website is www.getoutofmyescaperoom.com. We're located in San Antonio, Texas, the north side of San Antonio, Texas, off 281 in Brook Hollow. So that's the best way to find us. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say thanks again for taking the time, and thank you for our listeners for tuning in. to this episode of Escape Room Daily's Origin Stories. And we hope that Sarah's journey from healthcare marketing to escape room owner gave you some inspiration and new things to think about. So if you're ever in San Antonio, be sure to check them out and see what their family-friendly, humor-filled escape room experience is like. Until then, happy escaping.